I'm Scott Lucas. This is EA's Worldview on Syria. Today, what happened to the foreign weapons? Here's a paradox. Early this year, when the United States was denying that it was supplying weapons to the insurgency inside Syria, we were seeing lots of video of exactly those weapons, of weapons from Croatia, from Russia, from other countries, sometimes anti-tank weapons, very heavy equipment. But after the United States announced in June that it was going to begin supplying weapons to the insurgents, especially the Free Syrian Army, we stopped seeing so many videos. We weren't seeing as many Russian concourses or Czech weapons. We saw no anti-aircraft and very little anti-tank arms. So what's happened? 1. The background. Why did the United States decide in June that it would publicly announce for the first time that it would supply this equipment? It's not really because Washington was eager to do so. Rather, they got balanced into doing so. There were two main reasons. The first reason, to be honest, is that some people in Washington got scared that Assad was winning the war. In early June, the regime forces scored a notable victory when they took the strategic town of Qusair, near the Lebanese border. Now, at the time, EA said this probably is not a turning point, because it's one thing to take this town, and it's much more difficult to take a big city, say like Homs or Aleppo. But a lot of people in the media, and I suspect some in government, got panicked, and they said that a regime offensive was on the way, one which could be decisive in the conflict. The second reason why the Americans got pushed was because of their friends in Britain and in France. The British and French had decided it was time to try to do something much more public in support for the insurgency. So they went to Washington and they said, look, we've gotten the European Union to lift the embargo on supplying equipment to the insurgents. Look, we'll give you a pretext. We'll say that President Assad has been using chemical weapons. That should be enough for you to announce that you two are coming on side publicly in providing these arms. The United States did so. But almost within days of that announcement, indeed hours, the division became apparent, the division within the Obama administration. Voices from the military warned that a no-fly zone or that supplying heavy equipment was very, very risky. The new head of the National Security Council, Susan Rice, went to CNN and said she wasn't quite so sure that it was a good idea. So, 6 weeks later, point 2, the weapons haven't materialized. There has been no significant anti-aircraft equipment. Indeed, the U.S. military has said there won't be. There has not been any significant anti-tank equipment. Indeed, some Obama administration officials have said that is not likely to be delivered. There has been nothing of substance, nothing beyond token non-lethal aid that we've seen on the battlefield. Now, there's still the flutters. For example, this week, some unnamed Obama administration officials went and said, it's okay, Congress is lifting the restrictions on the aid. We'll begin supplying weapons soon. But these officials were unnamed. In contrast, a man named Martin Dempsey, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the most important military officer in the United States, told a congressional committee, there are many, many difficulties with ramping up support to the insurgency. Difficulties about who gets the arms, difficulty about what happens next, especially if President Assad falls. In other words, he threw cold water on the idea. Point 3, what happens next? If the United States won't provide the arms, someone else will. For while Washington has been indecisive and faffed about, other countries have already been delivering the weaponry, in particular Qatar and Saudi Arabia. That is why you see a situation in Syria which is actually split. The insurgents in the south are starved of arms because the U.S. controls the supply across the Jordanian border. But up in the north, the Saudis, with the implicit support of the Turks, are running arms. And that, of course, is where the insurgents are scoring notable victories. So we're likely to have not one Syrian conflict, but two. One in which foreign weapons, albeit not from the United States, are proving very important in another conflict in the South where the lack of weapons is producing stalemate. That's our three-point guide to what happened to the foreign arms, and indeed, what might happen next. I'm Scott Lucas. This has been EA Worldview.